All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Kale Casey. I'm back with our Incident Commander, Norm McDonald. We're on the end of our assignment now, day 13. Tomorrow's our day 14, Tuesday, September 20th, and I want to have Norm give you the big picture kind of wrap-up of our time here. Norm McDonald.
All right, good morning, everybody. Norm McDonald, Incident Commander with the Alaska team. I just want to thank the communities and Deschutes Forest for just the opportunity and the nice hosting that was done while we were on this assignment. One of the things I like most about this job is getting out and meeting the people in the communities, folks we represent, and just what we can do to support them. We were brought in 2 weeks ago with a fire that was really making a hard push to the east. At the same time, we had that switch around the east wind, and then that west side really picked up. So our job when we got here was community protection and really outreach to work with the forest and those folks on that 46 corridor. That's gone really well. A couple things I want to hit on. We are doing a transition over the next 2 days. We're working with one of the things I said when we first got here. In Alaska, we had a busy season this year. Northwest helped us out. This year we came down. We were able to get to Oregon, work with those folks, help them out. So now Northwest Team 7 is going to be here this week. We'll do a transition today. One of the cool things is they were in Alaska this year working on our up in the Galena zone, helping us out. Now we're down here to support them. We'll transition with them tomorrow, and they'll take over. Kale, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Great. Yep. Thanks, Norm. Appreciate it. Right. And Norm has a bunch of meetings today because one thing we do during the transition is make sure that the outgoing team, which is the Alaska team, downloads with every position of the incoming team. And I know a lot of folks at home have had questions about that. They've also had questions about how our progress is going. So we're bringing back Brad Washa. He's our long-term operations chief planning specialist. Brad, why don't you grab this mic? And folks have been asking a lot about when the 46 corridor will be open and things like that, but I wanted Brad to talk about our new map. We have the colors on our map for our indirect lines, containment lines, and I wanted you to walk folks through kind of what some of these colors mean in terms of our confinement and completion.
Okay, Kale. So when we first came here, as Norm mentioned, the fire was pretty active. We had that east wind event. We actually initially had resources on the southern part of the fire's flank. We pulled those resources out because for a number of reasons. One was safety concerns. There were a lot of snags. The fire had exceeded going across the 4290 road, and we didn't feel at the time with the conditions we had we were going to be able to catch the fire. So with that, we then went to an indirect attack. And with that indirect attack, we looked at perimeters around the fire itself and areas that we could potentially burn off of in the future if the fire became more active. So we have continued with those operations as far as that indirect attack and basically doing what we call a shaded fuel break. So we're not removing all the vegetation along the Cascade Lakes Highway, but we're doing a shaded fuel break where every 40 feet or so we're removing it. We're leaving a tree every 40 feet so that in the future, if this fire does become active again, it would we would be able to burn off of that, or down the road, a year or two from now, another fire may start. That feature will be in place as basically a catcher's mitt to the new start. So the different colors on the map itself. Green lines are indirect line that has been completed, and we've been out there with a lot of logging equipment, removing trees, masticating, so making little chippers out there. So the green lines are areas that we've completed. The yellow are in progress, and the orange we have not yet got to yet. But the intention is to complete this part of the indirect line. Not necessarily during our stay. We're going to turn that over to Northwest Team 7, but hopefully during their time they'll be able to complete that.
Okay, great. I know folks have been asking about some of their favorite places, the historic cabins around Odell Lake, Cultus Lake, Little Cultus Lake, any structure around these reservoirs and all the way up. What I'm seeing from this map is protection lines that go pretty far down, all the way down to Odell, and then all the way up north. So that's a lot of miles, right?
Yeah, I believe it's like 57 miles total. Don't quote me on that, but it's around that number. It's up there.
So let's say in October, the weather were to change back to warm and dry. Right now we're in a moderated, cool weather. We're getting moisture again today. But in October, let's say this fire were to get the west to east wind again and wake up and want to move. What action would be taken off of these now completed fuel breaks?
So if the fire became active again, there'd be a number of things that would happen. One where we do have structures in place, like Cultus Lake Ranch or Cultus Lake Resort, the Twin Lakes. There's a resort there. We've got measures in place as far as sprinkler systems in place and that sort of thing. So we'd
So
activate
pumps, sprinklers, hose,
Yes.
and all those areas.
So we'd activate those, start those pumps up that have been basically sitting there for that sort of event. We would then also start looking at where the fire was going to approach the 46 road or the Cascade Lakes Highway. We would start then burning off of that to have fire between the main fire and our holding feature along that road.
So this fall, that could be a possibility if the weather were to change. Next year, you said if there happened to be a new lightning strike somewhere in the wilderness, what have you, then they'd be able to do the exact same thing off the lines?
Yes, that would be in place for that. And, we have modeled things to look at, what is the potential chance of fire coming back alive this fall. We figured if there's a 1 inch of rain, so we had a little bit of rain over the weekend. We're anticipating in the forecast having some rain tonight into tomorrow. If there's 1 inch of rain total, and we've had anywhere from 0.3 to 0.4 of an inch, it's going to take about 17 days for things to dry out. The forecast is for us to go from this cooler, wetter period that we've experienced the last few days into the next 2 days, into a warming and drying period. But we figure for the fire to get up and move like it had in the past, it's going to take 17 days. We have a couple model runs that does show it potentially hitting the Cascade Lakes Highway, but it's less than 5% chance yet this season.
Okay, great. So just a little bit of recap. There's 170 cabins all up and down the lake corridor, whether they be the Cultus Lake Lodge or private cabins that have structure protection in place that's going to stay in place. That's pumps, sprinklers, hose, and the fuel and crews to run them. We have this, what we in Alaska would call the community protection line, because out in our village corridors and where I live, which is burned down a couple times, we put in fuel breaks that we call community protection lines. So Lapine, Sun River, Gilchrist, Bend, Sisters, Redmond, this huge, very complicated but very well done shaded fuel break now becomes, in effect, a long-term community protection line. Is that an accurate way to describe it?
Definitely. It'll be there for the long term as far as a holding feature for future fires. One thing, we will probably be pulling out the pumps. Those are pretty expensive, so we will be pulling the pumps and having them staged, but they'll be ready to implement. And I do think down by Odell Lake, we haven't gotten all the sprinkler systems in, but they are in order. So you may not see sprinklers right next to your house or cabin, but they're either in place or on order. And same thing with the pumps. We have all the pumps there. We just they're pretty expensive, so we don't want to lose any of those. So they'll probably be staged back here at ICP until the need.
Great, thanks. And we know the next team's going to be here for a couple weeks. They're going to have the same forest closure, so hunters and folks, that forest closure is going to be in place until the forest changes it, and that next team will message that. They'll carry on the daily updates. They'll have folks like Brad that will help them with the modeling, and then we get to get home back to our families, get ready for winter. It's happening in Alaska already. We have our snow levels coming down, so we want to make sure to thank all you in the public. We especially want to thank the folks who have been helping each other with the comments and helping folks. We call it neighbors helping neighbors. We're well-informed, concerned Facebook users help other neighbors understand what's going on. And we really appreciate that. We appreciate you supporting the Green Pants Nation out there. We appreciate all the families of firefighters who have put their sons and daughters at risk. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.